Sunlight. Welcome to Forfellingness Belysning, illumination from the ancestors, guiding your path today.
Every day, someone's little girl, daughter, sister, girlfriend, fiance, wife, cousin, mother, auntie, grandmother, great-grandmother, elder, disappears, shattering a family, a community, the world. There is something we can all do. Remember them.
Happy Tuesday to you. Too many switches this morning. So, good morning and welcome to Tuesday. Today we talk about courage, but we're going to talk about it a little differently in today's show, of course, being the giant's breath. So, buckle up, and hopefully today will provide you with some perspective that will resonate with you and help you along your journey. I do want to start by saying thank you to all of you who have liked, followed, and subscribed us on whatever channel you may have liked and worked with, whatever channel you read us on or hear us on. Remember, and Facebook and YouTube and some of those others, we do have a live chat that's going during our session. So you can always ask those questions. And remember, if I make another show about it, again, you get a free shirt. So do check that out on our website, ulfhednar.org. So you can get the links and everything else you need here at https://akumedia.akoutlaw.com, and check out our sponsors there at /sponsors. Before I go too much further, I want to give a huge shout out, there it is over here, to my friends and family at New Reality TV, newrealitytv.com, a streaming channel dedicated to a spiritual perspective that hopefully resonates with you and can help you along your journey even further. So do check them out, newrealitytv.com. Today's episode brought to you by aiper-pool-cleaners. From the sunlight noon to the moonlight hush, the water should rest like a still fjord. Aiper sends its timeless keepers to roam the blue and gather every leaf, every silt, and every shadow. Your weekends return to laughter while the pool returns to glass. Let the currents take away the dirt, and you can be left with relaxation and comfort. Check them out and check out all their information and a link to their website where you can purchase whatever you may need for your pool cleaning needs. Check them all out at our website /sponsors, akumedia.akoutlaw.com. So as I mentioned, today we're talking about the giant's breath. We're talking about and at the same time, we're going to use that and kind of identify the courage. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, nor is it the conquering of fear. It's not beating back fear and accomplishing whatever. That's not what fear is. Fear is the ability to see something that may present itself as an obstacle to us, and yet still be able to move forward, be able to accomplish that which we set forth. So fear is not the absence, or I should say courage is not the absence of fear. It's simply the management of fear. So what is fear? Well, fear, quite honestly, is imagination. Fear typically is premonition. So therefore, it's not technically something that we're physically avoiding. It's something that we're mentally avoiding. And our imagination is going to put this kind of thoughts into our our processing of our sensory input, thereby alluding to a potential that may occur, right? So we're afraid we may get hit by a bus. Well, don't walk so close to the roads, right? And so obviously some of these imaginations, some of this imagination energy that's coming from memory may promote, it may be much more stronger than other times. And there are individuals with whom even I interact with every day who are petrified, they're terrified of a particular thing. We have a family friend of ours who's absolutely petrified, terrified of spiders, particularly large spiders. And these are spiders that won't harm a human, but nonetheless, they create within them this fear. Why? Well, because they're afraid of being bitten or eaten or whatever. And that fear coming forward in with the imagination energy feeding into our sensory input is creating an amount of energy that the horn of feeling just can't get a hold of. And so they're losing all cognitive space, and that cup is, or that horn is just flowing over, right? Why? Because, well, quite honestly, there's a multitude of reasons, but nonetheless, probably the biggest one is they're allowing their imagination to kind of run away with them, right? So they're surrendering their cognitive space. So think about phobias as pretty much a loss of control, a loss of cognitive space. We can't think. We just don't have the ability to put cognitive thought towards whatever this emotional energy rising within our horn of feelings. Is it bad? No, quite the contrary. Remember, imagination coming forward into the sensory input was designed to help our fight or flight. Now, how do we deal with it? Well, in much the same way that we deal with any kind of darkness within our lives, we educate. We enlighten ourselves. Remember, if we going into a dark room, i.e. our phobia, and we're trying to figure it out, well, we're going to smack our legs on a lot of tables, we're going to step on Legos, we're going to step on toys, and we're probably going to get hurt, right? In a dark room. But when we go into the room and it's dark and we illuminate it, we turn on the light switch there, notice how all of a sudden the room doesn't seem as frightening. Well, that's because we've illuminated. Well, the same thing must occur when we're talking about this kind of dark energy. This energy that is coming forward in our memories, and it's probably driven by some values, virtues, and belief systems that has kind of stored into memory now. We've allowed it to store in memory. And then that memory is going to come forward in the form of imagination. It's going to feed into our sensory input, and it's going to make us see things that may or may not be there. So this is a very powerful energy, and it comes equipped already with imagery. So the imagery is going to provide for us, kind of fill in some of the gaps within our visual sensory input. And certainly it could be the audio input as well. It could be anything. It's going to be kind of augmented by this imagination energy. So how do we combat it? It's simplistic in terms, but the actual event of doing it might be a little bit different, right? Because you are going to have an emotional connection to this, right? Emotion, the energy that's created, the biochemistry that's created within you, and then the conversion of that energy can be quite extreme, right? We can have a lot of emotional energy, and that emotional energy, as it expands in the horn of feeling, has the potential of crowding out the cognitive space and kind of spilling over into the other parts of the brain that then fire off and create what we know to be the physiological symptoms, the anxiety attacks, the panic attacks, the trembles, the heart rate, the breathing. All of these symptoms are all driven by that horn of feeling overflowing. So the big key is to maintain our cognitive space. We maintain our cognitive space by illuminating ourselves before the event, right? So we learn about, using our example here, we're going to learn about these spiders. We're going to learn about them. And then what we may do is with them, obviously in a terrarium or some kind of environment that keeps the two of us apart, we may want to expose ourselves to this animal or this thing. I mean, in the example that we're using, obviously we're using spiders, but nonetheless, any of them work, right? Many people are afraid of many different things in our lives. So emotion is trying to protect us. The emotional energy, i.e. coming forward in the imagination, it's trying to protect us, and it's trying to determine whether we need fight or flight, whether we need to even engage that system, or whether we can actually deal with it in kind of a one-on-one situation. So the imagination and the energy involved there is really not the enemy. The enemy is how we allow ourselves to surrender our cognitive space. Remember, we only have a little bit of cognitive. If you think of a horn, a drinking horn of our ancestors, a fairly long horn. And in that long horn, remember, the bottom is our inauthentic selves. So we've scraped the side of our well of the self, and now we have silt that's gathering here in the horn of feeling, thereby kind of stacking up along the bottom and minimizing the amount of space that we have available to do our conversion from biochemistry to bioenergy. So we're doing that to ourselves. So how do we get rid of that? Well, quite honestly, we live authentically. We figure out what our values are, and we live according to those values, our values, virtues, and belief systems, whatever they are. We don't allow ourselves to be swayed or accept an influential offering of energy that's inauthentic to who we are. Because when we're processing that, that's the stuff that's going to bounce off the sides of the well as it goes down, and it's going to build up a lot of silt. That silt is then going to be converted into biochemistry. The biochemistry is going to fill into the horn of feeling, and as it fills in, that silt is going to come into the cup, and then it's just going to go right down to the bottom. And it's going to begin to kind of take up space that we can do a biochemical conversion, right? And so now we're minimized in the amount of space that we can use for the actual conversion process, which means a very little bit of emotion now, a very little bit of emotional energy expands very quickly and very completely. It's going to fill our horn fairly quickly. We don't have as much room. So this is a big piece of our lives, is when we move away from our inauthenticity and we start living according to what our values and our virtues are. When we start living that life, we're cleaning out that horn so that we've now got the entirety, we've got the entirety of the horn that we can use to convert this biochemistry. So it's super important that we live who we are, really are. not who we're being influenced to be, not who someone else has set a bar for us. No, not those, who we are. And when we decide to do that, when we can do that effectively, we're going to clean out that horn. And so we're going to have more room to process emotional energy. We're still going to maintain our cognitive space so that we can manage that expansion, right? That conversion back into energy. We're going to be able to manage it more effectively. This is called the process of illumination. And it happens all the time, every day. There are some things that we are learning, and when we are learning, remember, we are illuminating. So that's what learning is. It's illumination. We're removing the darkness. We're removing the unknown within our minds. And so it's a very critical piece that we allow ourselves to learn, to build the knowledge towers that we say in our mind. And then as we interact with and accept the guidance of our elders and certainly our ancestors, they begin to provide us with experiences, their experiences. Now, remember, in the quest for Odin, we'll probably talk about this tomorrow because we're celebrating Odin tomorrow. But in his quest, he sought wisdom. That was his main goal, was to seek out the wisdom. And how do you get wisdom? Well, you seek knowledge and you gain experiences. And when those two interact, we get this second level, if you will, of knowledge called wisdom. Now, wisdom has two forms. The wisdom, which is where we have kind of this oversight knowledge of things, but it also feeds imagination. Again, coming into the eyes or the ears or wherever our sensory input is coming from. And it begins to help us to fill in the blanks. Again, remember, imagination is simply looking for ways to engage or not engage the fight or flight system, right? So that's a whole different animal, right? So be thinking about your learning, what you're learning, and be thinking about it not in the form of, oh, I got to study this and I got to do that. Think of it as a potential of illumination for a particular situation. Who knows what situation you may encounter where this knowledge will interact with experience to give you some form of wisdom about. So, super important. All right. I got a new microphone, so I'm still trying to work around it. Today, let's talk about the runes. And what is the rune for today? Rune for today is algaes. Algaes. Now, as you note in algaes here today, it's in an inverted state. An inverted state, remember, gives to us cautions, things we need to be aware of and be looking for. Now, I think it's ironic that we get algaes this morning, because algaes in an inverted state warns us of allowing fear to dictate our lives, allowing fear to guide us, breaking free of that mold. It warns us when we are driven by fear, we lose the concept. We may lose this divine link. Remember, we're in constant communication with the deities and the spirits around us, but we have the potential of losing that if we allow fear to override all else. Now, that fear is simply imagination feeding into our sensory input. But when we kind of allowing our memories to drive everything to the point of losing some parts of our experiences to this, we're essentially, we're kind of missing out on a lot of that which we could grow, learn, and evolve from. So maybe instead of being fearful of everything, maybe take some time today even to sit down and study that which we fear. Learn a little bit about it. Illuminate that unknown so that it doesn't become a fear, right? All right. So I have to take a real quick commercial break. When we come back from commercial break, I want to talk to us today about the giant's breath, certainly, but embracing courage to be who we are, because you really are a gift. You are a gift to the world, to this time, to this space. You're a true gift, and you need to embrace that. All right? All right, we're going to do a real quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk about modern day steps every day that we can use to grow and to evolve. We'll be right back.
The air.
The time is now.
We're all waking up.
We're waking up.
We're all waking up.
It's all shifting.
New vibrations.
It's you.
It's you.
It's me. It's all of us.
Together.
A new time.
A new day.
A new energy.
A new energy.
New reality.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
NewRealityTV.com.
And we're back. All right, great. Thank you so much for taking that quick break with us. I can't begin to express my appreciation for my friends and family at New Reality TV, NewRealityTV.com, a streaming channel dedicated to all of the peoples around the world with many different perspectives and journeys and paths to their spiritual understanding. Maybe you'll find one that resonates with you and can help you along yours. All right. All right. So today we're talking about, I do need to call out aiper-pool-cleaners. Again, a wonderful device that can go into your pool and keep it clean all year long, so that you always have that retreat that you can go to. So do check them out. Aiper-pool-cleaners. You can check them as well as many of our other affiliates at our website, akumedia.akoutlaw.com/sponsors. So do check them out. I would greatly appreciate all you could do, because everything that is purchased through our affiliates, obviously, they provide for us to help us support the show and our mission here. So check them out. All right, we're talking about the giant's breath and certainly the courage of Tyr today as we embrace our Tuesday. Today, we're thinking about inauthentic thoughts, inauthentic behaviors, inauthentic influential energies that are going to come to us, and they're going to attempt to sway us from what truly is ourselves. So when we think about each thing that comes in, each thought that we have, the first question that we have to ask is it ours or is it borrowed, right? Many times, particularly with phobias, we have someone in our life, typically fairly early, who has put this rock into our well. They have given us their concern, their whatever, of this particular situation, whether it be a phobia of love, a phobia of anger, a phobia of spiders, of whatever. Loneliness is another phobia that I hear quite frequently from people. So these types of phobias are typically strong imagination influencing the sensory input, which then drives through the emotion into our horn of feeling. And of course, the horn of feeling, as it converts back from biochemistry to bioenergy, is simply going to convert what it sees, what's there, right? And so we've added our virtues, our values, and our belief systems. We've added that energy to this experience that is then converted back into energy, and it can get out of hand very quickly. So how do we manage this? Well, as I just mentioned, educating, illuminating a dark room. When we learn about things and we learn about some of the pieces that are involved, we can begin to kind of address those rocks within the well of ourself, right? We can begin to say, no, those rocks just aren't important. Or we may get to a place where we say, no, I don't want that rock. And we can do that. We have that authority, okay? Even if it goes against many of our fibers of our being and we say, oh, I'm still terrified, as we get to the me gate, which is kind of that last stop before we get to memories, if we get to that me gate, we can go, I don't want to be afraid anymore. I don't want to be afraid. And I can manage that gate. I can close that gate. Those decisions and that alignment is ours to maintain. Our virtues, values, and belief systems, while may have been given to us by a multitude of people over our lifetime, we still maintain the authority as to what we believe. And we control that. So, obviously, one of the key pieces that we will need as we're going forward into conquering some of this is to, figure out who we are. What do we believe? And why do we believe it? Right? So virtues, values, and belief systems, they're all at the bottom of the well of the self. Now, remember, the first real conversion outside of imagination and the sensory input itself, the first real conversion happens at the mood ring. So, how did you wake up? What's your mood like today? Are you opportunistic or are you pessimistic about what's going to happen today? By setting our mood first thing in the morning, we allow ourselves the opportunity to remove that as a pin, if you will, against what we believe, what we're experiencing. We can actually set our mood that then fosters growth, it fosters learning, it fosters harmony. All of those things can be fostered when we set that mood ring the way we need it to be. Once the mood ring is set, the energy drops into the well of the self, and within the well of the self, as we've mentioned before, the water within the well, of course, is based on how much thinking, how much chewing are we doing within our mind. If the water is really tumultuous, if the water is really cloudy because it's stirring up a whole bunch of stuff, well, that's because that's what we're doing. Maybe take a break. Maybe just take a few minutes for yourself. And then the virtues, values, and belief systems, those are ours. Those were given to us by those with some level of authority that we've issued them. And we've allowed them in. Now, they can grow, they can get bigger, they can get smaller, and they can get rid of. We maintain that control. We have that knowledge. So, figure out what are your virtues, values, and belief systems. How do I feel about this, that, or this other thing? What have I been told about this, that, or this other thing? And who told it to me, right? So there's your level of authority, is who told it to me, and were they credible? Obviously, if some person with whom I have no ties whatsoever has, told me that I have to do this and I have to do this in a certain way, well, why? Question it. Remember, these are your virtues, values, and beliefs. No one else really has authority. The only authority they have is what you give them. So, again, make an inventory. And that takes time. Sit down with yourself, some quiet time. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic or anything really, showboaty. It just simply take some time, take a few minutes, and begin to ask yourself questions. I very much appreciate when I'm doing that kind of work that I'm writing it down so that I can refer back to it. And I can say, okay, why did I believe it? Because you got to remember, your emotional states are going to change, so it may change throughout your lifetime. So inventory yourself. Figure out where you are. Obviously, for those things with whom carry some emotional energy, educate ourselves. Illuminate the room. Illuminate the unknown. Right? And address the phobias by illuminating. Illuminate our minds. Gaining experiences from others allows us to thread the weave of wisdom and brings that into our decision matrix. So, very important parts. So, and finally, the big key is you must remember, and I know you're going to hear this by almost anyone who's involved in any type of spiritual teachings, but we need to remember us. We need to remember ourselves. You are a gift. Your ancestors prayed for you. They begged the gods for you. All right? They did. They begged the gods to allow us, to allow a biological figure to bond with a spiritual being, with a spiritual entity. And you answered. So you are a wonderful blessing. Remember also that you're teaching the gods an interpretation of all these experiences that you've had. So you're a pretty big deal. So just remember that and keep that in your heart. My friends, I wish you the very best today, Tuesday. I hope that you embrace your courage, that you engage within yourself to learn who you are and become your authentic self. Whatever that is, your authentic self connects you directly to the spirits and the deities above. So be kind. Use your happy, pleasant, loving words to you. All right? Have a wonderful Tuesday. We will see you again tomorrow where we will embrace the power, the wisdom, the experiences of Othin. Love and light, my friends.